Good evening. Today is Thursday, April 23rd. This is the EMS Review Committee meeting. I will call this meeting to order. Roll call at this time. Brad Armstrong here. Larry Klipstein.
Here.
Jack Serra.
Here.
Sharon Furcron. Chris Palinowski.
Here.
Ted Polinsky.
Here.
And Amanda Deary.
Here.
All in attendance. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of March 12th, 2026 as presented. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Any further discussion? Question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Motion carried. Moving on, item D, old business, continuing discussion on EMS services. Would anybody like to go first after? Welcome back, everybody. Hope all is well. For those that's gone. Ms. Deary.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to say I appreciate that Fire Chief Vargo and Assistant Chief Marks, along with the Safety Service Director, went through and summarized the answers to these questions. I personally found it helpful. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I just want to say thank you. And I think that kind of gives us a good launching point to move forward. So thank you.
Thank you. I also agree with the questions were very helpful with the answers from the chief and the safety service director. Does anybody else want to reflect on the questions that were put out and answered? We all solid with those? Pretty good. I do have a few questions actually. So I don't know if the fire chief can answer this. It said that they were waiting on a few other departments to get back because there was a few cities that I seen that started this process without doing a levy. I believe it was Cuyahoga Falls, Euclid, and Steubenville. I was just curious to have anybody else reached out. Has any other cities reached out? Chief, could you possibly answer that?
Thank you. I just want to make sure there's a point of clarity here. I apologize, Director. Point of clarity, I want to make sure there's no misinformation with regards to Steubenville did begin this process with ARPA funds in 21-22. They had $10 million in ARPA funds that they used. Cuyahoga Falls, as a comparable, has been running EMS for years. I was given that information to inform council or this committee that they generate $1.7 million. And Euclid also has been running EMS for quite some time, but the point of the question was to determine whether or not a levy was to support these organizations, and a levy is not needed. So I just want to make sure that people understand this and that it is corrected. I have reached out to other departments within Ohio and outside of Ohio, but as I'm sure you understand that fire chiefs don't tend to operate on normal time, so they'll get back to me. I am waiting for about 4 other departments to answer this, and the question was, can we run EMS without a levy?
Well, Director Deary.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Chief, one question that I had about Steubenville, and you may or may not have been provided this answer, was what was the, incentive or reason that they did make the shift? Was it out of necessity? Did they provide that answer to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Forgive me, I don't know the formalities of through you in this, but the answer was in 21-22, COVID hit, as we all know, and the private entity at that location was moving on. They were no longer available.
Gotcha.
So it was out of necessity, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. That'll be all. Now, anybody else have Ms. Faircroft, I'm sorry.
And on the letter, I think from Director Pajanowski, when it talked about Steubenville, it said that the collection rate was 35%. Yet later in that paragraph, it said that $200,000 and revenue was left uncollected each year. Those two numbers conflict, and I was thinking maybe I just didn't understand it.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I would ask the chief, I'd cut and paste that from exactly what he gave me, so if maybe he can elaborate on that, but you're right that those numbers might be a little inconsistent.
Thank you. Ma'am, in order to answer that question, they collect 35% for every $100. So that number right there is what they are collecting as part of $1.2 million. That's how they get there. The $200,000 is what's left uncollected, meaning they soft bill. And so they send 3 bills, and after the 3rd bill they do not collect, then they move on with that debt. So they leave that much money on the table each year, $200,000. Did I answer your question fully, ma'am?
No. So it said that the revenue was 1.2 million.
Copy that,
annually,
ma'am.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
And if they're collecting 35%, that's $420,000.
35% of every $100. So that's $35 for every call that they're collecting, at a minimum.
Right. And it's still 35% of 1.2 million,
I see your point. Yes, ma'am.
right? Which is $420,000. So I wasn't sure if the $200,000 left uncollected means that they really only collected 220,000.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, ma'am. What I can answer right now, honestly and transparently, was he told me we collected 1.2 million. That was his number to me. And he said we left 200,000 on the table.
Okay.
That was what he explained to me, ma'am. So I apologize. If there's further direction, I can reach back out to him. I'm happy to do that, ma'am.
Yeah, and I think it becomes important if we move forward because that's a very small amount to be able to collect and leave a lot out there. So may not be as important right now, but at some point we might need to revisit that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bob.
Thank you.
Director Barnowski.
Through you, if I may, I think what it means is they collect 1.2 million. They arrive at that number after the billing where they only collect 35%. So that's the total after the billing. And then there's 200,000 that goes uncollectible. That is very much going to be part of what we're dealing with as far as the collectability of those bills and revenue. So I would ask the chief to confirm, but I think that's what it's saying, is they do ultimately collect 1.2, but that's after only 35% is collected. That creates the 1.2, and then of that 1.2, 200,000 goes uncollected.
So I think the confusion is the way it's written.
Yeah.
So if they're only collecting 35% at 1.2, then the overall revenue is closer to $4 million.
No, that's overall gross prior to billing revenue. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, that might be true, but we'll confirm. We'll reach out and get some clarification.
Okay, thank you.
Through you, so the $1.2 million that was collected, is that over and above costs, or does that not include that number?
Yeah. Yes, it on over there.
My apologies. The $1.2 million collected is overall. That includes everything that takes care of their ambulances, manning, and stations. Is that what you asked? My apologies if it wasn't.
So, excuse me, that 1.2, does that include those costs being taken out? Is
No,
that
that's total
profit?
cost, sir.
That's
Total cost.
Total cost.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's gross.
Yes, sir. That is correct, Director.
Mr. Deere.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I personally found it interesting that the 35% collection rate, or in the numbers are likened to what Life Care is doing. So it sounds to me that we could expect, give or take, that our likelihood of success in collection would be more or less what a private entity would be doing. That's what Steubenville has found since they went from private to doing it in-house. That their success at collecting, the money left on the table is about the same as what the private entity was doing there.
I'm just looking at this $35 per 100. I mean, from a business standpoint, how can you make money when you're only getting $35 on every $100 that you invest? That doesn't make sense to me. That seems like you're always losing money every time you go pick someone up. I mean, they say they make this money, but how can you make it if you're billed $100, you only get 35, and your costs are more than what you're getting back? I mean, I think there's some figures that are missing in here.
Life Care verified, Ms. Mason, that they collect 25% of every $100, so they're making $25. Steubenville is $35, so they're in line with what Ms. Mason did speak to us about in a previous meeting.
Yeah, I'm just looking at, I mean, I don't understand that really. I mean, maybe I'm missing something because I know if I had a business and I was spending $100 on supplies but only got $35 back, I'd be out real soon. So I don't understand how they contribute to getting all this money when they're getting a third of what they're billing.
Right, right. I understand the question, I understand the concern. I'm relaying the information that he's telling me after billing, they're making $1.2 million. If you'd like me to dig deeper, I'm more than happy. He indicated to me he'd be more than happy to speak on it. So I'm happy to reach out to answer your questions, to be transparent.
Yeah, I'd like to hear that. I'd like to see you and give them some questions if you can. You know.
Yes, sir, I'd be happy to do that, sir.
Thank you.
Director Gillespie?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think that's why everybody has a dedicated source of revenue in the form of a levy or property tax levy, income tax levy, whatever it may be, because they're not covering their cost. And that's why they have a levy. They all have levies.
Director Palilowski?
Thank you, through you. And the other part of it I think that is important is you have to factor that in when you set your rates. So you have to factor in a collectability in order to, when you set your rates, in fact, you know, understand that not everybody's going to be able to pay, or not everybody is going to pay. You're not going to be able to collect them against them, and therefore some people are probably going to pay more. I want to caution everybody, while you know looking at other communities is illustrative, I don't think that it answers the question of what Elyria could or can do, and I think we have to evaluate that separately. And I think the report that was done does a lot of that. So it is interesting, and it helps us maybe see some things in a broader picture, but I would be careful of saying because they can do it, we can do it. I mean, there's so many different factors in comparison, just in this short thing here about population, how much geographic space is covered, poverty rates. I mean, all those things come into play. They're going to impact our collectability, the demand for services. There's a number of factors that exist here that might not exist in another community. So I would just say we need to be careful that their way of doing things we might not mirror that. So just pointing that out.
Flipside.
I have one question also. Through these, I like the answers to questions and that you gave me. But I'm looking at the cost of what the study said it would cost, and also what you added on these costs here about all these buildings needing renovations, the cost of this, the cost of that, adding people, adding ambulances and stuff like that, $500,000 for this, $700,000 for that. I'm looking at the cost in this book is not going to be what it is. I mean, it's either going to be 50 or 75% more than what this book anticipated this would cost the city. That's what I'm looking at. I mean, yeah, if you had everything in line in this book already out there, fine, but you don't. The answers to these questions show me, you know, you're talking like over $1 million in some cases just to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, how would we go about, I mean, you also put in here that the city does not have the money, the fire department does not have the money, and a levy would be needed. Well, we have enough problems, I think, of passing a 0.5% levy every 5 years. And the way the economy is now in this city is, I can't see us putting ahead another levy to the voters to get any of this done.
Yes, sir.
Because you're going to run across it, and, well, I don't use it. That's what their things are. So I'm not going to pay for it if I don't use it. Let someone else pay for it. That's my anticipation. I mean, if you come down to a levy, I can't really see that passing. You know.
I don't think anybody's considering a levy, sir. I believe at the beginning of this, and correct me, Director, if I'm wrong, Council President Mitchell has said she's not going to use Issue 6 funds, and the mayor is adamant about not having a levy. So I think all members of this board need to keep that in mind, that there is not that funding available.
Director Deary.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just through you, Mr. Cliffstein, are you, for my own understanding, you're referring to basically the startup costs when you talk about needing $1 million or more, again, for basically to get out the gate as far as having the ambulances, having equipment, having places to put people, all that. Yeah, no, and I absolutely agree with that. I think, again, that Steubenville example, that's what they use their ARPA money for. And they had $10 million, and that's what they decided to use it for. And I mean, again, you want to talk about it being once in a several lifetimes opportunity, and I'm sure that a big chunk, if not all of it, was probably used towards that, to make that transition from having a private company to putting it in-house. So, okay, I just wanted to, because I also share those concerns, I just wanted to make sure that
Director
they weren't
Palinowski.
different concerns from yours, at least on that point. Thank
We
you.
don't have $10 million like Steubenville did to go towards.
Director Palinowski.
Thank you, through you. The Fitch report, I was the point of contact for the city, and so I had many conversations with them. And I will tell you, I'll share with you that the report acknowledges that there are some policy decisions that are solely for the city to make. And so some of this is meant to be illustrative, but not necessarily outlining every possible scenario. So I will tell you that the staffing that was identified, that was in talking with the chief and IAFF 474 local President Marks, and you applying national standards. If you're going to have this many runs, how many people you need, that kind of stuff, this many crews. And so we tried to keep it as lean as possible, but I think we could estimate, especially knowing what labor costs and benefit costs are now, if we had that many people, what the cost range would be annually. We have a pretty good idea. I've consistently been told that it's about $500,000 for an ambulance. Could we get creative and maybe buy a used one or two? And yeah, there's some way, but I don't know, maybe it saves $100,000. To be seen, depends what's available on the market. But, I think this is meant to show an example, but it might not be the end cost for us. And with the buildings, I mean, I don't think that we didn't have an architect or anything, but there was an understanding that you need to be able to house these additional people. So it doesn't quite get into some of that. It says, look, we recognize this has to be done, but we're not. It doesn't take that into consideration. So we could certainly work with the finance director's office and maybe get some a loose cost estimate, to take some of those things into consideration. But I think that would work. I don't think that information is directly in the report.
I have a question about, I want to bring back Broad Street up. Was there any other updated discussions on possibly, obtaining a generator and stuff to that nature?
Yes, through you. We actually had a meeting this morning, myself, the chief, Assistant Safety Service Director Strozak, and some of the union leadership. So we are exploring that as an option. And what that is building out the second floor that was never completed. We have some initial drawings from an architect, very preliminary, just here's the space, what could you do with it, that kind of thing. And he has designed it in a way that we all looked at this morning and said, this looks pretty good, and it would house 7 personnel. So the intention for that now is to move pumper 2 there, which is currently at Cedar Street. That is a pumper we brought back online maybe a year and a half ago, somewhere about then. And so to move it out of Cedar Street, to move it to Broad Street, it would be closer to the response area that we would assign to it. So that is the initial use of it. But there was some conversation if we were to get into ambulance services, EMS services, could that be our hub? So we are looking at that regardless of what comes of the EMS conversation. But that's what it would look like. The fire chief and the fire marshal and the fire prevention bureau staff are there now. On the first floor, they would continue to be there, but we would run the pumper at this point out with the housing, the quarters for the personnel assigned there on the second floor. So we are looking at that. We had some good conversation this morning. I think everybody believes that the current design would meet the needs. And so I will start having some further conversations about should we, my point is I don't want to move forward if it's not something the city is committed to using long-term, right? I don't want to make the investment in 5 years from now, say it doesn't meet our needs. So that's the question. Is this the solution to help us better serve the southeast side of town? Broad Street has been broadened. It's now, it has a turning lane, which makes it a little bit easier for the trucks to get through. It's about 45 seconds from 57, and that was one of the goals. If you can get to 57, you can really service that area. So that is the idea. Initially, we were talking about a new fire station, and it was, estimates were $3.5 million, maybe probably 4.5 now. So $700,000 seems like a pretty reasonable investment, but I need to make sure that is going to meet our needs to serve the community. So that's the conversation we're having now, and we'll make a decision here in the near future. But we do have a general idea about how we go about it, but we need to check some things about responses and districts and all that other stuff to make sure that it's the right location to use.
Through you, Chairman, maybe this is for the finance director. This readiness fee of $126, is that in a contract with Life Care through the city, or how is that paid? And like, why do we pay that? Why is it in the contract? Like I was telling him earlier, I said they have ambulances on 2nd and West, so if someone falls on 3rd Street up the street and they refuse to go in an ambulance, but it shows up, we have to pay $126 because they showed up. Is that how that works?
Director Polanowski.
I can take that, thank you, through you. Yes, so the $126 is the, correct me if I'm wrong, if you don't mind, the conversations were that Life Care can't get reimbursed if they don't transport in that situation. So the $126 is the Medicaid transport rate, I believe. And so that's what we agreed to contractually. That's how we set, instead of just saying we'll give you X number of dollars a year and divide that by 12 months, it was tied to some identifiable service, and they weren't being reimbursed in those situations if they don't transport. They have nobody to bill, they can't bill, and so that's how we arrived at that number. That was the contract that was entered into February 6th of '24.
Follow up on that. But that to me is a business loss of a private business. I don't see why the city would subsidize a private business for money they lose. I mean, they should bill that person they went to or see what they can collect from them instead of depending on the city to pay them the $126. I mean, if you have a business, you lose money, you don't expect someone else to come in and give you that money back. I mean, especially it's a private business, it's not a public-owned operation. I do wish some people from here, actually, some top people here from Life Care, because I did do some digging, I don't know if this is correct or not. I ran across on Finance's websites, and it tells me here that Life Care in Elyria is estimated to generate approximately $12.7 million in annual income. So I don't know if that's close, if it's a figure or not. You know, it says it's not a publicly disclosed company. It has negotiated contracts in Lorraine, Elyria, so on and so forth. But I'd just like to know what their expenditures and revenue is. You know, I mean, I guess they don't want to show us what it is, but maybe if someone from Life Care came, we could discuss the situation, because actually I'd like to know, are they profitable or are they not, you know?
Through you, Chair, they're a private entity. It's not information that's public, nor are they required to share it with us, so I don't know. I have talked to them a couple of times, just, how you guys doing? And I've been told they're doing fine, so that's where we're at. I mean, I don't ask other contractors that we work with for their books either, so I mean, that's kind of where I'm at on that, but yeah, they did not provide their financials. They were very helpful with this report, but they drew the line there and said that's their private business information.
Director Deary.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I will say that when this original contract was being negotiated, and our contract does differ a bit from some of the other communities that have entered into similar contracts with Life Care. Some other communities have, and I'm not disparaging them, they are different, have more or less a blanket cost per year, because as a community, we are required to provide our residents with emergency transport services. So, for example, the contract could simply state, we are contracting with Life Care to pay X amount of money for X time frame for 1 year. It was important to especially several of the council members at the time on the negotiating team, that there would be some sort of benchmark. So it was a not to exceed, and for better or for worse, it was tied to the transports for which Life Care would not, in all likelihood, be able to collect. That is, they were not able to collect on non-transports, and it was tied to what the Medicare, Medicaid rate, I'm sorry, $126. So our not to exceed of $400,000 is tied on them being Life Care, providing verification of how many non-transports in that invoice period they've actually recorded. And for many other communities, their contracts, that's not the case. They send the invoice for the month, and let's say it's a yearly contract, it's just divvied up by 12, and that's the amount that they pay. So for instance, we have not yet, and I don't want to jinx it, but we've not yet ever hit our not to exceed, although there are provisions in the contract to address what would happen if we were to exceed that $400,000 a year. So, but through you, Mr. Cliffstein, there could be a better way benchmark, but that was, at the time, we wanted to have some sort of, I guess, some sort of benchmark that seemed to be fair and consistent, and also, to your point, it's understandable that you said, well, that would be a business loss, but we wanted something that, again, at least would have some sort of connection with, that Life Care obviously wouldn't be collecting from us as well as a customer, and, but also was tied to what we were paying them.
Actually, I have a question. I don't know if the Director Polnowski can answer this, or if a representative from Life Care can come and answer or possibly get us an answer. But section 1.8, section I says, basically if Life Care's units is unavailable, then they reach out to mutual aid that comes in. I'm kind of curious on how many times that has happened in our city where they had to reach out for a different emergency service to come, you know, assist in the help. Ma'am, can you state your name for the record?
Kimberly Mason, through you. We mutual aided in the year 2025 38 times in the city of Elyria. Out of our total call volume for the city was 11,615 calls. So we mutual aided 0.003% of our calls.
Now, is there anywhere in this contract, I haven't been able to really find it, I'm not an attorney, so some of the words are a little confusing, but, or even the director might be able to answer this, are we even allowed to even purchase an ambulance in this contract that we have right now?
Do you? I don't believe so.
No? Can we get some type of definite answer on that? Because that kind of helps out. There's no reason for us to really keep going around it, especially if we can't even start that. And then we're just gonna, you know, that's something that we really need to have an answer for. I would really appreciate that. I know there's gonna be some time coming up until our next meeting, but that, and there's some other questions that I have that I would like to reach out to Life Care about some of these other things on the contract about, like, are we utilizing the CPR training and the health benefits that's offered in this contract and stuff also. Other than that, I think my last question for this evening is, did we ever, Director Pileski, did we ever get the liability numbers, costs? Did we ever toy with those to kind of start getting a general understanding of that number?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I've not seen any numbers. I believe Director Pianowski had reached out and asked for a quote, so I don't know if he's heard or not, but I have not heard.
Director?
Through you, are you asking about insurance?
Yes.
I was waiting for this meeting
Okay.
to take place, and then I'll reach out to our insurance agent. I can do it even as tomorrow. The quote will be somewhat dependent on how many personnel, how many ambulances, locations, that kind of. So I presented that information. I wanted to make sure that after conversation tonight, nothing changed, but I can reach out to him tomorrow. He's pretty responsive. I can certainly have that information in a reasonable time. But I wanted to make sure that none of those factors that would be relevant to that estimate would be impacted in any way.
Mr. Clipstein?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, for our law director. Have we ever met the $400,000? Have we ever came close to the top amount for life care?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that would be better answered by Safety Service or the Finance Director, and again, depending on what your definition of close is, but I can tell you we've never met it, but they would be able to give you a more definitive number.
Director?
Thank you. Through you. It's included in the April 16th answers, but here's where we're at. In 2024, so 2024, because of when the contract was entered into, it didn't start till February 6th. So February 6th through December 31st, the total was 303,156. Then 2025, it was $356,076. And then so far in 2026 through March, so January through March, that's the last invoice we had. At the time that I put this together, we were at 89,334, which I think if you take that out through the rest of the year, would still keep us under the 400. So no, we've not hit the not to exceed number yet.
Clipstein?
If the life care representative could just answer this, I'm not picking on you or anything, but you can do it right there if you're comfortable. Over there, okay, sorry. What's your average of calls like that you get the reimbursement for monthly? Do you have like an average of how many you pick up, or?
For the no transported calls?
Right,
or-
right.
We're averaging, it's about a third of our call volume in a month we are unable to bill because we couldn't transport. And it could be various different reasons. It could be somebody called 911 because they saw somebody laying down outside sunbathing, they thought they were unresponsive. Or we could have got to the residents and they're like, you know what, I just want my blood pressure checked, everything's good, and I don't want to go. Or there's times that we just do standbys, where we're there with the police and the fire department, say it's a fire standby or SWAT standby or a home invasion or something along that line. So it's various different reasons of why we don't transport the patient.
Okay. Each one of those reasons, the city gets billed $126 as you check the blood pressure?
Not all of them. So what
Okay.
we do, like if it's, we go to the house and we make patient contact and say they just want their vitals taken and we get there, yes. If we don't make it to the scene, we do not count those.
Okay.
That's probably another 200-ish calls that we don't even add on there that we get canceled en route.
So 1/3 of your calls a month that you don't get reimbursed on, really?
Yes,
Well, that's a big number. Yeah. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Ma'am, actually, I have a
Yes.
question. So what about our lift assist? When our guys come out, our fire guys come out and help, do we still get billed that 126?
Right now, no. If we have to call the fire department out to assist us, say we don't transport the patient, they just need to be lifted up, we do not charge that to the city. If we get there and we need extrication out of the house because it could be a patient of size or the layout of the home, if we call fire, that one we won't charge the city anyway because we're transporting the patient.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? Mr. Clipson?
Not for you, but for the Safety Service Director. If the city takes this over and like she references 1/3 of the calls, some are blood pressure checks, some are just, are we going to bill these people through the city for going to check a blood pressure, or is it just a free charge since the city's handling it now?
Through you, Chair. Frankly, that policy decision has not been made, but it certainly would be possible that we would charge for all services that are provided, quite frankly.
Here.
Through you, Mr. Chair. My concern would be that if Life Care is not able to collect from these people, I don't believe that we would have any better luck. For instance, if federal guidelines state that they will not reimbursed for no transport, then the same would apply to us. And if these individuals are on federal medical coverage, in all likelihood, they're not going to be cutting us a check for $126 or whatever our billing rate is as well. That doesn't mean we couldn't attempt to collect. I just think that our recoupment rates would likely be similar. I don't know if Director Pileski has different thoughts about it, but that just would be my guess.
Are there any additional questions, Mr. Clipstein?
Yeah, a comment on what the law director just said. Yeah, I think because a lot of people with your collections with the city, they look at Life Care as a private company when it comes to get them. Why have to pay them? I owe them. But with the city, a lot of people think city services are free. You know, why live in this city? You guys just supply it. You know, you come pick up my garbage, you do this. No, I mean, I'm not going to pay for your ambulance to come get me. Why would I do that? I'm part of the city. I pay taxes. You know, that's the response you get. So I imagine you're right about a less collection rate. You know, you'll probably get maybe a quarter, 25% maybe if you're lucky, because people are going to say, well, this ambulance is free because I pay taxes in this city. I live here. Thank you. Just comment.
Mr. Sarah?
For you, so back in 2014, when I first came on the council, this very topic was up at that time. And one of the comments that was made somewhere through that was that we couldn't bill if they didn't have insurance because they're already paying it through a tax. Is that correct, do you think, or not?
Well, through you, Mr. Chair, I mean, we wouldn't necessarily, I mean, be paying out of, I mean, it wouldn't, I would defer to Mr. Pileski on that, but, I mean, we charge residents for water. We charge, I mean, it's for a service.
Right.
So, again, we would have to look specifically on how we would structure this as a service.
Right, and this would be if they didn't have insurance.
No, I mean, again, I don't think whether they had insurance or not, I mean, again, we would have to look into how we would structure it. I do know that any money that we would collect would go into a specific enterprise fund, much like, say, wastewater or sanitation. So it wouldn't be going back to the benefit, say, of the general fund pot of money. But I don't think, again, it's something we would look into, but I don't think we would be precluded from billing. And also, until we would invoice somebody, we wouldn't necessarily know if they had insurance or not. Oftentimes, I don't, and again, Life Care would be the resident expert in the room to know this, but I mean, oftentimes when someone's transported, I myself have had that experience, they're not asking at the scene for your card. So, I mean, that's all being dealt with after the fact. So, but I would think that the likelihood of actually collecting if someone doesn't have coverage, and I could be wrong, but it probably would get a lot tougher.
Sure, thank you.
Yep.
Director Pileski?
Through you, Mr. Chair, not to change the subject, but, you know, when you talk about these startup costs, we're talking about several $1 million, it sounds like. So I just want to remind everybody that we just borrowed $21 million for the central maintenance garage, and we'll be paying that debt over the next 25 years. The money that pays for our debt comes out of the general bond retirement fund, and it's not unlimited. So if we had to borrow a whole lot of money to get this thing started up, I do not know how we would pay that debt off, unless it comes from the revenue that we brought in by the service. But then again, then you're probably not going to have money to pay for the employees that you have to hire. So we have to be aware of the debt we already have, and issuing more debt may be a very big problem if we decide to move forward.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? Are there any questions or comments from the general public? Ma'am? please state your name and address for the record.
Cheryl Wright, 110 William Street, Elyria. I just had a quick question. You were talking, it's on. The quick question that you were talking about the answers to your questions. Is that something I would be interested to see, because I was probably here when you asked those questions, but you got the answers back, but is that going to be made public, those answers?
Director.
Through you, it is a public record, and if you're requesting it, I can provide you a copy.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing that if there's no more questions or comment, I would say that we move on to the next item on the agenda, which is new business, which is none. So with that, we'll move on to the next meeting date, which will be held on Thursday, June 25th at 6 p.m. in council chambers. With that, I will entertain a motion to end the EMS Review Committee.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any further questions?
Question?
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.